Hi folks, welcome to my channel. I'm Sarah, and in today's video I'm going to share with you the art supplies that I've really been loving for the month of August 2018, and I will put them all in the description box below so you can go and check them out if you want to. But this video isn't sponsored, so I'm not being paid to say anything in particular about anything. It's all based on what I've used and genuinely liked. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon as well if you want to be alerted of new videos as I upload them onto YouTube. Right, let's get on with it.
So the first art supply in my August favourites is this set of 3 round Oscoda watercolour brushes, which I bought recently on Amazon for £28.92, and I've only used the size 8 brush so far, and that was in my recent painting of a ladybird, which I will link in the card above, but I really enjoyed using it. So these brushes are made in Barcelona and selected by artist David Taylor. They are all short handled brushes, and I found the size 8 brush really nice to hold and paint with. The size 8 and 12 brushes are described as being synthetic sable tipped brushes which behave very close to real sable, and I've really enjoyed using the size 8 brush because it has a really fine controllable point which is great for really small details, but also holds enough water to coat with larger areas and washes too. So I haven't had the chance to use the larger brushes yet, but watch this space as it's something that I'm going to be doing in an up and coming video. It's also worth mentioning that the size 18 brush has a Tendo fibre from the Ultimo series. It's synthetic but very close to squirrel hair, very soft, and does hold a lot of water. So my second favourite art supply this month is the Frisk Aluminium Brush Washer. Now I picked this up in a very small local art and craft shop near to me, and I paid £5.99. So this is meant for holding brushes bristle down in a cleaning solution or cleaning agent without bending the bristles. So it's probably more suited to people using, say, oil paints, and it has this little grid in the bottom here which can help dislodge any paint or anything like that. But I thought it would be a really good way to dry my brushes generally, even after just cleaning them or using them in watercolour and cleaning them in water. So any residual water doesn't run down the handle of your paintbrush or soak into it and potentially damage either the bristles or the handle. So normally I would just wash my brushes and leave them to dry on a piece of paper towel, but I thought this little device would enable me to help look after my paintbrushes once they're clean and just store them bristles down into this little device here so that they could dry without damaging any of the brushes and help prolong the life of my paintbrushes. So it's not an essential art supply, but it's just a bit of fun and certainly something to consider if you're somebody who uses oil paints. My third favourite art supply this month will not be any surprise if you've watched my recent video comparing gouache and watercolour, because it is the Winsor & Newton White Designer Gouache, and I've got this in a 14mm tube which costs around £4.99, and I can honestly say that I couldn't do without this art supply. It's a really good opaque white colour that is really useful for all sorts of things, and I like to use it neat from the tube to add in highlights on top of watercolour paintings, so for things like whiskers, fine hairs and details like that. But it can also be added to your general watercolours to make it into a gouache. So I'm just laying down some transparent green watercolour here and then illustrating that you can add white gouache to your watercolour to turn it into more of an opaque gouache, and you can do that with any of the colours, and it just kind of gives you some extra options if you want to change your paintings up or if you want to try painting with gouache. So I haven't actually used any other brands of gouache because I've been more than happy with this brand, but if there are any other good ones out there, then please let me know in the comments box below. Another thing I like to do with my white gouache is to use it on top of different media. So I'm just laying down some marker here, and yes, I know I shouldn't be using marker on top of textured paper because it can damage the nib, but for the purpose of this video it was just a small amount and my marker is fine. But as you can see, the white gouache lays down equally well over that marker and also over the coloured pencil, which is really good for creating, again, whiskers and things like that. Right, the next supply that I've really been loving this month is the DrPH Martinshydrous watercolors, and I've been using these a fair bit recently, and now I've got used to these super concentrated pigments and how they lay down on paper, I feel a bit more confident in using them either neat or diluted with water. So as you can see here, I'm just re-wetting some dried out pigments, and these were the ones that I used for my ladybird painting, but they really mix back well with water once they're dried. And I really like the sort of the bright pigmented colours, the way they lay down on paper, and they're just so flexible. You can use them really diluted or really neat straight out of the bottle. So I have the set of 12, and there are 3 sets available, as I mentioned in a previous video, and I think they range in price. At the moment, set 1 is £44.81 on Amazon, but they can range up to £80 or £90 for a set of 12. But you can see how really concentrated and pigmented they are. Just by laying down one single drop, you can get such a rich colour, and a little bit does go a really long way. Another colour that I'm just demonstrating here, just because I love the way that it lays down and the different colour variations you get within that colour, is the Payne's Grey. And as I dilute it out with water, you can see the way that the paint mixes in with that water and gives you some really interesting kind of textures, shapes and colours. But now, as much as I've grouped them as a whole in this month's favourite video, there are sadly a few exceptions, and that's to say that there are a few colours that have caused me problems, namely the red oxide and the Indian red. And a lot of these colours do separate out just with standing around, so you do need to shake them like the yellow ochre I showed you just then. But these 2 colours in particular are really a bit inconsistent with the other colours in the set, and no matter how much I shook this red oxide colour, it was still really thin and almost gluey in texture. And you can see, compared to the Payne's Grey, as I lay it down there, it's not nearly as pigmented or concentrated, and it's a bit disappointing because when I like to say I have got a favourite watercolour, for example, I like to be able to be confident that the properties and the different different things about them are consistent throughout the range. And you can see, even with this Indian red, this one was more thick and lumpy, and you can even see me picking it up on my paintbrush then. So it is a bit of a shame that there is this inconsistency. Maybe there needs to be a bit of a formulation change or something, but if you've got any ideas or comments, do let me know on that one. So moving on to art supply number 5, and this is the DrPH Martin's Black Bombay ink. Now I've got a 15ml or ½ ounce bottle, and that's just the smaller size. They do come in 1 ounce bottles, which are 30ml with a dropper, and the cost of those is around £6.36, or you can get 12 sets of the ½ ounce bottles for about £36 on Amazon. So I've been using this recently just because I had a bit of an issue with my watercolour black that was fading out. And in my ladybird painting recently, I wanted to try out ink to put in the darkest areas, and this didn't disappoint because I was able to put down those really black areas. They stayed really dark when dry, and the good thing about this Indian ink is that once it has dried, it's permanent, so you can go over with water and it doesn't reactivate, it doesn't blur or smudge, which was really good for doing my ladybird, because once it had dried, I could confidently lay down the brighter red orange colours next to it without worrying that my colours were going to mix together and muddy up. So this is certainly a technique I'm going to be using in future, and with up and coming Inktober next month, that is going to be something that I'm going to look to use again. Okay, so the last art supply on my list this month is the Waterbrush, and I have 3 different brands here: the Sakura Aqua Brush, the Pentel Water Brush, and the Derwent one in a size 1 as well. And I've been using these recently to swatch out my Bombay inks in preparation for Inktober. And the reason I like these is that first they are really useful for taking with you out and about, so they're really convenient, they're really quick, easy to use, and there's no mess or fuss. So you just fill the barrel up with water and you can take them out and about with you without having to worry about taking separate bottles of water and worrying about looking after the bristles on your paintbrush. The other thing I like about them is that they're really useful and quick for swatching colours out, and really easy to clean just by squeezing the water through the bristles. So as you can see, swatching out some colours here, I can change really easily between colours just by washing it out, pushing that water through the bristles to clean them. I haven't got to worry about separate jars of water or anything like that. So this is something that's really good if you want to try out different colours for paintings and swap between them quickly. The bristles aren't sable or anything like that. I mean, they're just synthetic and they're fairly inexpensive, but it's really nice to have something that you can just grab quickly and get the job done. Something else that I'm really liking about them though is the fact that once you dip them in your colour, through gravity and the water flowing through the bristles, you can get some really nice gradients, and this gives me an idea for an up and coming painting, so keep your eyes out for that. You can also fill the barrel rather than with water, you can fill it with ink, but I haven't done that just because I worry about cleaning them. But they're really convenient, and they've got lids that you can snap on and carry around with you. I've never had any problem with any of these brands leaking or anything like that. So the lids, as well as being really a good seal, snap on nicely and also fit on the end of the barrel when you're painting as well. So that is all my favourite supplies for this month. I hope you found this video interesting and possibly useful, and maybe it's inspired you to try out some different things as well. If you've liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Here are some more videos that you might like to watch if you haven't seen them already.